And today we are talking about wellness. So, first, I definitely want to start by saying thank you for joining today. I know it's Friday, um, but I wanted to chat about wellness because we talk about the word all the time, but I don't feel that we always talk about what wellness actually means and why it's so important. And then, of course, just ways that we can better understand our own specific needs in just ways that we can enhance wellness in our own lives. So, to start, just a quick introduction. My name is Alicia Kennett. I am the Employee Wellbeing Resource Consultant here at SNHU. I also teach wellness, so I am an IDS 402 instructor, and then I'm a certified health and wellness coach, as well as a corporate wellness coach. So wellness is very near and dear to my heart. And that's why I wanted to definitely just have a couple minutes today so we could chat about why it is so important. So when we talk about wellness, and really just think about the term as a whole, we're really talking about many different dimensions of wellness. So typically we do only think about the physical aspect. It's really nutrition and working out, the physical aspects. Mental health is coming up, as more on the rise, I guess, of falling into that wellness bucket, the emotional element. But we do only typically look at a couple of aspects of wellness instead of really understanding all of the different dimensions. So there are 8 different dimensions of wellness. They are social, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, and occupational. So our own personal well-being is the combination of all 8 of these different dimensions. So you can see in this graph that there's a person at the center of this wellness wheel, and that is because we are a full representation of all of these different areas. So that is how our kind of well-being is made up of all of these 8 dimensions. And the goal really is to make sure we have balance, we have understanding, we have the tools that we need to maintain each of these different components. So how we do that, now that we have kind of a quick understanding of just knowing that there's 8 different dimensions, a good place to really start in assessing your own needs is going to be taking a well-being self-assessment, which I will give you the link for. So a self-assessment is really just going to ask you different questions based on the 8 dimensions. The one that I use is super quick. It usually takes about 5 minutes, but this is going to assess your well-being, the wellness in your life, all of those dimensions. And then once you complete that assessment, you will get your results. And it's going to be represented in a graph that looks identical to this one. So this graph shows you the balance or the imbalance of wellness in your life. So this is just a great way to kind of do a temperature check and see where you are with things. And I do always say too, it's super important to take that assessment at least once a year, if not twice a year, because things are constantly changing. It's, our well-being is very fluid. So it's really kind of a good practice to check in multiple times just to see where we're at and where we need to focus our needs. So the goal here is to have a big, beautiful, balanced wheel that we have or that we see on the left side. This shows that you took the assessment and you are actively working on all of these dimensions very well. So you have a great, big, balanced wheel. not typical that happens. That's the point of the assessment, is that you might see or have results that look more like the graph that we see on the right, where we're doing pretty well in all areas, but a lot of times we often neglect one full aspect or one of the full dimensions of wellness. And that's what we can see here on the right side, that the financial wellness, we're just not, that person is not putting a lot of effort or kind of focusing on that area. So this is really important to note, because if we do neglect one full component, we might be doing really well in all of these other areas, but neglecting one area will transpire. It's going to kind of spill over into different areas in our lives. So taking that financial wellness component, that can lead to stress and burnout, and it can impact your relationships. So it's really not just, that financial wellness and that's it. It's going to be seen and show up into different areas of your life, which is why it's so important to really take into account and kind of assess your needs. So I think that these assessments are super important because we don't ever, not ever, we typically don't look at wellness in this way. We don't assess. We might know something's up. I need to work on things, especially January 1st, setting goals for ourselves, but we don't really check in with ourselves in these 8 different kind of buckets and components to see where we need to focus some of our efforts. So this is just a great way that we can kind of categorize our needs and really just know where we should be working and spending time on ourselves. So now that you would take this assessment, I wanted to definitely chat about the different ways that you can enhance well-being in your life. And I do have this in PDF form, so I will put it in the chat when we're done. But this is just, like I took the assessment, now where do I start? Like, what can I do? So this will just break it down super quickly. The social component is all about relationships. So this is spending time with friends and family, having a hobby, volunteer work, any recreational events is all going to be part of the social wellness component. Physical is all about your nutrition, your exercise, sleep, which we don't often think about sleep being in there, but sleep is so important. And then your hygiene and preventative care, making doctor's appointments, that all falls within the physical component. Emotional is about your emotions, recognizing stress in your life, having positive coping skills. This is definitely where therapy and counseling can come into play, just being able to really communicate your thoughts and your needs. And then environmental, we have the planet, being in nature, recycling. So it's also your kind of personal environment, your house, your office space, just the rooms or the time or the places where you spend your time and your energy. What does that look like? Is it a positive environment? And just, making sure that you're adjusting as needed. Spiritual is all about kind of being grounded and centered with yourself, being connected. So meditation, yoga, religion, religious beliefs and practices would fall into this bucket. Gratitude is so important. Making sure you have a gratitude journal can make a world of difference. Financial is budgets and just understanding and recognizing your own spending habits and your trends, having a financial goal, which we don't often think about setting goals in this aspect of our lives. But goals are super important. And then, of course, trying to reduce your debt and start paying back some of your loans. Occupational, we spend a lot of time at work. It's a good chunk of our week. So having that work-life balance, engaging in work that really inspires you, having a sense of accomplishment in your career, and feeding your passion is so important, especially if you're doing something 40 hours a week. You want to make sure that you have enjoyment and you're feeling a sense of kind of pride in the work that you're doing. And then lastly, we have intellectual, which is just about using your mind. So learning something new, reading a book, playing a strategic game, keeping your mind active, and running, developing your own thoughts, ideas, opinions. All of these things fall within the intellectual realm. And then lastly, because I work on the benefits team in HR, I definitely had to point out the well-being site, but I wanted to go there just to show you one thing super quickly. Once it loads, when we go to the well-being site, you will see that there's a page dedicated to our well-being benefits and resources. And I only bring this up because this is where the link to the self-assessment is. So the one that I typically use, it's super easy and straightforward. This is a link just to kind of have a place to start. And then I did really try to break down our well-being resources by the different dimensions that we had discussed. So if you take the assessment, again, I'll put that PDF in the chat. But if you're kind of like, yeah, I really need to work on my financial well-being, that's what that assessment told me. You would be able to easily just go into our financial well-being resources and then utilize them. So I did want to point out just that these are categorized in a way that makes it super easy for you to kind of find what you're looking for. And that is all I have. But I will stop recording right now. And then I did want to just open up the chat or open up the floor to, to you. If you learned anything, if you have questions, I wanted to just give you the last couple of minutes here to chat about it.